Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Great.
I'm Amanda.
And I'm Peggy.
And you are watching Junction Fiber Mill's Millcast.
Millcast. And
Pre-recorded.
Pre-recorded, what I like to refer to as evergreen.
Yes.
Because you are taking care of your baby right now.
Yes, I am off on maternity leave, but in the meantime, we have some great episodes for you, including this one.
Yeah, we're huge fans of a farm in Massachusetts called Meadowfed Lamb Farm, and it's run by Rachel Haas and her partner Matt Kaminsky. Yep. And they just have a very, very interesting approach to how they raise their sheep and integrate it with apple orchards. And we really hope you enjoy this interview with Rachel, who had come by to drop off some fiber. And I said, hey, would you stay and let me talk to you? All right. I appreciate you doing this.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
Can you start by introducing who you are and what you're doing?
Yeah. I'm Rachel Haas. Me and my partner Matt Kaminsky are the farmers at Meadowfed Lamb, which is a Silvopasture operation based out of Hadley.
What do you mean by Silvopasture?
It's the integration of grazing animals in perennial tree crops. So we graze primarily in a hard cider orchard. There's also lots of pears, heart nuts, chestnuts, and we're about to plant 14-ish acres into like a more intentional silvopasture planting.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm assuming the sheep then love to eat the apples and the pears.
Yes, they do a great job of doing that. They also work on tree fodder, so leaves, like young woody sort of growth on the trees when we prune them off. They eat diseased stuff all the time, as well as the really nice forage that grows on the ground. Is this
a new thing, or is this historically this is the way it used to be?
It's a very old way of farming. It's also very popular still and for like millennia in vineyards and cider plantings in Europe. It's
not grapes though.
Yeah, definitely grapes. Less for sheep, but more like geese and ducks. Really good for like slug management, pest management on vines. It's a great way to like stack uses on farmland.
Because they're obviously the manure also is helping.
Yes, it's self-fertilizing, lots of pest and disease control happening, keeps it spray-free, pesticide-free, and the animals, like the stress reduction that animals experience when they get natural shade versus no shade or artificial shade is measurable. So especially for lambs, you get like exceptional growth rate increases when they have that type of access to trees.
Oh, I did not know.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Huh. How did you get into this? I mean, did you in junior high, did you say, I can't wait to be a sheep farmer?
I would say, I think that I always wanted and loved sheep, but both me and Matt are first generation farmers. We did not come from a farming background. Matt and I met in college, and he's an apple tree specialist, which introduced me to the concept of silvopasture. And I had gotten into farming in a real way in college, and had an interest of fiber that far preceded school. And so I always sort of knew I wanted to have sheep, no sheep. Certainly didn't think it was possible or accessible, and we sort of found it.
So did you find a day job after college, and then, or did you jump right into it right out of college?
Yeah, when I graduated, I started working at a sheep farm during lambing season, and it was immediately clear to me that it made sense. It was like a 350 sheep operation, and the farmer there was sort of thought it was crazy, but how individual I could identify each sheep, which for me was really important during lambing because each animal needs that attention. and it wasn't the way that this farmer generally operated, and so it was sort of cool to see how intuitive it felt to sort of identify each one and connect.
So how'd you go from working part-time or seasonally to where you are now?
Matt started working for our dear friends Nicole Blum and Jonathan Carr of Carr Cider House, working farmers markets, doing apple pressings with them, some tree stuff, and we sort of, I'll speak for me and Matt, we fell in love with them immediately, and built a friendship over 5 or 6 years, at which point they were undergoing some major clearing and reclamation of an old apple orchard that they had bought 20 years prior. And they'd planted some trees, but it had been a long neglected orchard, so they were, taking a long time to sort of rework and terrace sort of intense parts of this orchard hill. And part of reclaiming property that's been neglected and overgrown with lots and lots of poison ivy and bittersweet, you really have to pay attention to the ground maintenance and the forage maintenance. And they knew that we were interested in having animals, and they knew that Matt had the tree background. And they offered us it must have been 2018, introduced the idea of us starting a small flock of sheep just to help with the ground maintenance up there. And I was exceptionally nervous. I almost said no. One, because I'm extremely allergic to poison ivy, and it's everywhere, and because it felt really scary to sort of take that step. And Matt told me to not be crazy and accept the offer, and in 2019 we started with 6 sheep on the orchard.
So just so I'm clear though, it's not your you live near the orchard but not next to it.
Yes, we live 6-ish miles away. Nobody lives on the orchard. It's APR land, so there's a barn.
I don't know what APR.
It's like a land trust.
Okay.
And it grandfathers in whatever buildings existed when it entered the land trust. So for this property, it was a big cider barn. And then we have since built a couple of greenhouses, one of which the sheep live in.
Okay.
During the winter. But it's totally off-grid. We have a water well and some really light solar power, but the rest of it's off-grid.
So what do you do for fencing?
We have electric fence that we move. We move the sheep every 12 to 24 hours. In the winter, we have 2 almost 2-acre blocks that are permanently fenced in, connected to the barn. One the sheep have just worked through, now the chickens are on, and one the sheep have access to for the whole season. We are planning on fencing in the whole property with some grant funding, but it's still in process.
That's a lot of fencing to move around.
Yes, we move a lot of fencing. It's a pretty intensive grazing, very focused grazing system. So we use for 15 animals, we do 3 100 lengths of fence, and we move them it's generally every 12 hours at that size. But we're growing pretty substantially every year, so I think we'll have about 60 animals.
60.
Yeah.
And how many are you breeding?
19. Fins are amazing. I mean, we'll see. I am counting my eggs before they come, but
before they literally hatch.
Yeah, before they literally hatch. Yeah, but generally we get triplets is the average.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that will take you to 60, or after lambing
it'll
be
20 plus the 40-ish, 45 maybe that we're expecting, conservatively.
Cool. Before we started this, I had said to you one of the things I'd love to talk about, because people know what a sheep looks like, and it's amazing how many things you can have images of sheep on, and they sell like crazy, from potholders to note cards. But most people don't get the opportunity to hang out with sheep.
Yeah.
and you've been doing it for a while now. I'm just curious if you could share either a first or an incident that just knocked you back with joy.
Yeah, oh my God. So many to choose from. Sheep are amazing. I think I'm going to do a broad view on that first because it's sheep are so dynamic, and each one in our flock, at least I can speak for them, have an amazing personality, and they're so different. And they have this deep societal thing happening, huge individual dynamics, family dynamics, interfamily dynamics. The rams, of course, add a ridiculous component. And I think the thing that I've found the most consistently beautiful to see is the way that the intergenerational families interact with each other. We have one line, we call it our E line, all stemming from the matriarch Edna. She's the most beautiful animal I've ever seen. She's got a gorgeous fleece, and she's an amazing mom. And she's only given me ewes in the 4 or 5 years that we've lambed with her, which feels statistically like impossible maybe, but and we keep a lot of her ewes because they're so beautiful and they grow so big and their fleeces are so beautiful. And we had one of hers who's, don't tell them, my favorite, Erie, which is one of her first daughters that she gave us. And she got sick last year for lambing. She had really, really bad pneumonia. And we had to pen her up in a jug before she lambed. Usually we wait sort of until they're in labor. And her sister came over, Edith, who's this like big, deeply emotional animal. She's our biggest. She came and just would constantly rest her chin on the jug door, just to check in. And if other animals came over to check in and they weren't in the eline family, she would keep a little perimeter. Or if the dog came by, she'd gently keep a perimeter, just holding court. And that family protection has happened sort of in many iterations. Most recently, one of the lambs from this year, Estelle, had an incident with our young guardian dog and was pretty hurt, and we didn't have her in a jug because we were in the field, and the entire family, at this point there's 6 other ewes in that family line, they literally made a circle around her for like a week. Even like from us, like if we went over to treat her, they'd come and they'd keep a tight perimeter, and then there was animals on the outside perimeter just to make sure that she was okay, so that she wouldn't get picked on by the other animals. It was amazing. It was like a stunning commitment sort of to mutual safety. It was really beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
And you don't think it was an accident?
No, I don't. There's like definitely not. Yeah, it's a beautiful understanding. They're so communicative and present for each other. Yeah, it's really, really special.
I should have made clear your breed had been entirely Finn.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What are the characteristics of Finn?
They're very sweet.
Of course.
Their fleeces are really dynamic. They have a lot of variety. We're working on creating some consistency. They come in a lot of different colors. It's very soft and very, very shiny. And it maintains that shine and softness through processing into yarn, which we find to be really special. And in my opinion, it's uniquely durable for how soft it is, which I think makes it pretty special.
Yeah. But you've gotten a few other non-Finn.
Yes.
What's that about?
We introduced 3 new ewes at the end of this most recent grazing season. A Tunis Targhee cross and 2 East Frisian Tunis crosses. They were the most loved last 3 of an old college professor's sheep. So it was partly to take them on because she didn't want to have to process them. And because we're primarily a meat operation, we do want to bring in and experiment with some larger boned animals, as well as East Frisian are a dairy breed, so they have really, really high milk content. And because Finns have so many multiples, I've been interested in making sure our milk production is high. And it's an experiment. Plus, the fleeces are nice and different than the Finn, so excited to experiment with some blending.
Very cool. You shared the kind of surprising moments of joy, and I know there's a lot more, but especially around lambing. I don't know about you, but lambing always freaking blows me away. And you mentioned that, you know, the mothering instincts. You know, when you see a good mother.
Yeah, it's nothing like it.
Exactly. Can you share a low?
Yes, lambing is another time where that's pretty prevalent in our experience. I feel like, lambing is simultaneously the most beautiful thing that happens to us and is the most devastating. This last lambing was our hardest to date, with our highest percentage of losses or preemies or mummy lambs, which is exhausting. But the hardest one for me was the year before, was my first loss during lambing. It was my ewe Pearl, who was one that was born on farm my first year lambing, and it was her first year lambing. And she was having twins, and the first one to come, the head and feet could not come out at the same time. And I was alone because the farm is down a mile-long road, and when it's muddy and does this freeze-thaw that it does, it's very hard for us to drive down. So Matt was hiking in, and it was late at night, and he was coming to help. And so I was having to make some decisions on my own late at night, very tired, trying to negotiate getting the feet to come out with this head, and I couldn't navigate it. It wasn't happening. There's so many decisions to make while you're lambing. There are consequences to all of the decisions, whether they're beneficial or not. And there's a point at which you just have to make sure the lamb comes out, because then you have a better chance of survival for everybody, and definitely for the mom. And I just had to get the lamb out. We did. And it was clear that the neck had broken while we were delivering, which is devastating because I love my sheep and I feel immensely responsible for their health and their joy. And during lambing, there's a lot of trust that I feel like my animals put in me to help them make it happen. And we're fallible as humans. And it was devastating. Luckily, she had a twin that came out very soon after that, which was a breeze, and was beautiful, and we kept as a wether. But it is hard in those moments to sort of negotiate your responsibility and the nature of things. And it's a beautiful and challenging part of lambing. And you have to learn from it and do things differently. But I suppose that's why we do it.
I've been on that path.
Yeah.
It is heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Yeah. But on the other hand, then you got the second one out alive, which would have possibly not happened if you delayed what you knew you had to do.
Yeah.
And then what I find is once lambing's done, there's sort of this, shoulders drop, relax,
Yeah, totally.
and then it's just having
That's joy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you just have these lambs running around and it's so sweet. That's the best moment is once everybody's born and they're all thriving and they're big and tall and they're like navigating, being curious and like doing silly things, getting stuck in funny places, and they're like exploring their independence. And it's always after a lot of sleep deprivation on our end. And it's usually like when the sun starts coming out, because for some reason it's always raining during lambing, and that's the relief of that is really unique. And I think it's important because it would be very hard sometimes to push through if you didn't have that sort of immense relief on the back end of it.
What's ahead for you? You're expanding your flock. Any other news to share?
We're expanding our flock, which is exhilarating for us. The new planting is so exciting. We are so lucky to be able to fit into someone else's farm because it's incredibly hard to start a farm. And it's been an amazing learning opportunity, and to be able to now plant on that farm with Silvopasture in mind instead of fitting into a different system is very exciting. We're also starting to graze at another orchard site, which is a chestnut orchard in Deerfield and in Sunderland, which is very exciting because it means we can expand the flock in a much more meaningful way. Because right now we're sort of constantly racing our demand, which is a great problem to have, but also a stressful experience. And it presents new challenges for animal numbers, dog numbers, balancing everybody, having enough time in a day, and starting to do some more consultations for Silvopasture stuff, some conference things, like we're going to be at NOFA this weekend.
And NOFA is what does it stand for? Farm Association North, Organic?
National? No, I don't know the N. New England?
Possibly New England.
They're dropping the E, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Organic Farmers Association.
Very good.
Is going to be at Worcester Community College, I think.
Okay.
Weekend. We're speaking there. Which is
people who are listening to this, if they're interested in your yarn or your meat,
yes.
How do they find you?
We have a website, meadowfedlamb.com.
Meadowfedlamb.com.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You can find our yarn there, sheepskins when they're in stock, and our wool sponges, which are a favorite. The meat right now is just available in person at farmers markets in our farm shop, which is in Hadley. And we're at the Wayland Farmers Market every other week until March. And then we'll be at a myriad of Western Mass farmers markets in the spring, and Catskill, New York.
And do you feel people have found you now and they seek you out for both yarn and meat?
Yeah, we are feeling that way, which feels crazy in many ways, because we still feel so new at it, but I guess we might always feel that way. Our meat is delicious. I know I'm biased, but I feel like it's uniquely good. And I really feel our yarn is special, and you guys are a big part of that.
Hey, we have so much fun spinning your fleece. It's just it's beautiful fiber, and we feel honored to be able to process it.
We feel the same.
I really appreciate your letting us explore a little bit about what your world is all about. Thank you.
Thank you.
She's inspiring.
She really is, and it's just great to see young folks also making a go with the sheep farming and everything, and just to hear how they got into it and everything. It's very cool.
Their lambing, I can't imagine walking, in that cold, you're as isolated as the sheep are as you're trying to help them. That is tough stuff.
Yeah.
So, Anyway,
and their fiber is
to die for.
So gorgeous.
Yeah.
I know that they can't keep their yarn stocked at this point. They're hoping to increase their flock maybe to make a little more fiber, but we love processing it, and we hope that you are able to get your hands on some.
Check out their website if you're not near them, to visit them at the farmers markets and whatnot. Anyway, thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, and we will see you all next time.